So, Jamie, let's jump right into the question today, which is why retail marketing?
So excited to talk about retail. It's ended up being, since COVID, our very, very best lead source. An excellent ROI, return on investment. And I know we'll talk about pricing later. But where else do you have a chance to get in front of so many walk-by customers of all age groups? And I mean, it's Walmart that we're going to talk about today, but we have other opportunities too. But lead-wise, it's been amazing through the years. I've been doing it now 17 years and have seen so many changes in the retail marketing. And it's had its ups and its downs, but truly, since COVID, it has been our best lead management source.
You know, I can say from personal experience, my grandfather, who passed a couple years ago, we were talking about him and my grandma at the time, their Medicare coverage, and I was telling him I had gotten into this industry, and he was on a med sup because he had a lot of health issues. She was on an Advantage plan. I was like, "Oh, how did you get her on that plan?" And he goes, Walmart. There was this guy, put her on a Humana plan. And that was a big, testament to me at that time because I was kind of still new to the industry at that time. Like even my grandfather, who was a pretty sophisticated dude, you think the caricature of this consumer is like, let's say maybe the one that's less informed. Not necessarily. Sometimes it's just your local guy that knows he needs to get a Medicare plan. Why not do it while he's at Walmart?
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And, Walmart loves that part of it too because it is definitely a one-stop shop, kind of like the brokerage.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about retail marketing for those who are new to it, right? This is a completely different strategy than your grassroots marketing or your online or your provider marketing. It's a different niche. So first of all, I wanted to ask you, who is this a good fit for? What agent fits retail marketing?
And that's a great question because Walmart is not for everyone. Retail is not for everyone. We've seen some agents that recognize the lead possibilities, but I think the best type of Walmart agent is someone that's very approachable, easy, those people that will talk to a brick wall. And you don't have to sell. We're really problem solvers at Walmart. And many times they mistake us for the information booth. So walk the store, get to know where things are. And it gives you a great chance to really tell them you're here to answer healthcare questions. But I would say, casual dresser, not somebody in a suit and tie, somebody that's not going to stay on their computer or their phone the whole time. Just that friendly person that really doesn't mind talking to everyone about anything.
So more of an extrovert, right?
Definitely.
And the thing is, like, if you're more introverted, you can always learn skills, right? And that's something I think is very important, like, because I am naturally more introverted. Learning to talk to people, learning to be social is a learned skill. You can acquire that skill. You can grow in that. But still, you're going to have people that just naturally are a little more equipped for that environment, right?
So true.
The person that's willing to just interrupt someone, in the middle of their shopping experience, but really you're trying to help them. And there's certain guidelines around it, right? Certain kind of do's and don'ts with that, right? You don't want to be bothering their customers necessarily. But, let's quickly go into what are the programs that are available through the brokerage. We've mentioned Walmart. What else is there for agents?
We have a wonderful relationship with HEBs, and even though we're a national organization, HEBs are really focused more in Texas, but we do see opportunities from the carriers with some grocery stores like HEB in all the other states too. So besides Walmart, the big giant, and HEB, I love the carriers that come to us with pharmacy opportunities, with stores, local stores that are there. And then we have some agents just broker their own deals with dollar-type stores or a local mom-and-pop pharmacy in some of these small towns. And those sometimes are the most successful agents.
So you talk about family-owned local grocery stores, small town dollar stores, things like that. Do you have any success stories from agents you've seen that have taken that approach?
Oh, I have so many stories. Probably my favorite one is a big giant of an agent, fisherman, hunter. I mean, he's just big. To think about him sitting at a booth in an aisle at any store, even a Walmart. He seemed too big for Walmart. But he had decided to go to a little town in Texas called Lubbock, Texas, and went inside the dollar stores, because a lot of the dollar stores, and I'm not even sure which type of dollar store because there's many different ones, but actually buying giveaways, and just struck up this great conversation with the managers there and started helping them move some stuff around. They fell in love with him, and he asked them, he said, "Hey, can I put a table outside?" And they said, "No, you can be inside." He goes, "I'm too big to be inside." So he actually sat it outside, nice weather, believe it or not. And he would go in and maybe buy $10, $20 worth of dollar items, had a little spinning wheel. And he ended up doing that for 2 years, sold that book of business when he had to make a switch in his life to a different situation because of a health plan. Ended up selling it for $1.3 million, that book of business.
Wow.
But I mean, he worked it every day.
So that was his main strategy.
It was his main strategy, and it worked so well. He went back a second year, and he doesn't live in Lubbock, Texas.
Really?
I mean, yeah, lives right here in Fort Worth, Texas. So that was a drive, and he had to relocate, leave his family, his wife and his kids, and his fishing boat, and he did that for 2 years. So it does work. Country is always friendlier than cities. We've always seen that. But I've seen the same thing in New York, in New York countryside, not New York City. It's such a different animal.
Yeah.
But, just some small mom and pop meat markets there that I didn't even realize New York had.
Yeah.
Felt like a Texas thing.
Yeah.
Very, very successful. So you just have to think outside the box. Where do seniors go? Who is catering to them already? Who has senior specials? Certain days, certain items, piggyback on that. And why not? And it can end up being a great resource for leads and make you a lot of money.
Yeah, and you're planting seeds not just for that direct enrollment. I think it's important to look at it that way. Yvette at our office, she is kind of the provider marketing expert, and she takes that approach of, you're dating almost, right? She teaches agents that you don't just want to go bombard a provider and say, "I want to be your Medicare expert," right?
So true.
You start out by bringing them a candy jar.
Yes.
Right? Dropping off some information, making a great first impression, and you
Always.
leave them alone. And then you follow up a little bit later and you try to build a long-term relationship. And I think that very much could translate to the retail marketing as well, both with the companies you're partnering with and also the clientele. Because guess what? Most stores, the same people go to that store every week to get their groceries, right? And so you don't have to just shoot for the sale, right? If people see you week after week after week and you're thinking long-term, right? You're building long-term relationships and not just going straight for that immediate sale, you will see that compounding effort, right? And that's what you're talking about, like the agent you just mentioned in Lubbock, 2 years, and then a book of business valued at, you said, like $1.3 million?
$1.3 million.
Yeah. What a testament. And then, again, we've got, like you were saying, more of the corporate partnerships, and those have their value as well, like the Walmart or the HEB, right?
Right.
Now, here in the Dallas-Fort Worth, I guess we have a couple of HEBs now.
Yes, we do.
So are we going to be getting into those, I guess?
We were actually asked for those first dibs, and I don't know if you've visited them personally.
I haven't yet.
They are jam-packed. There was no parking space. Literally had to park in another shopping center and walk over to it. The store is so full. I actually talked to the pharmacist, and we've talked to corporate, of course, but I decided I'm just going to go in and see what they say. Very, very welcoming to an agent. They just feel like they need to get established here and kind of figure out everything. Honestly, there was no room in the store for us to even put a small kiosk. So we hope that we will have it next year. And who knows where HEB could go. It's an amazing facility. And I love what you said about building that relationship, because we do have so many agents that, just have such an expectation. I'm just going to push my way in. And you do have to build that relationship. We have a wonderful agency that's been 20 plus years in Waxahachie, Texas, and she actually works every retail location there. Her adult daughter now is in the business. She ended up having her truck driver husband get his license, and he has gladly given up truck driving. And they pretty much own that town. But she does it with so much kindness and helpfulness. And she always says, she gets so much business from a Brookshire's, an HEB, and a Walmart, and the drugstores. But every night when she gets home, she has anywhere from 5 to 10 referrals from the store managers or the pharmacist.
Yep.
So that's how you do it. And she's very involved in her community and goes in those stores and asks what she can help with instead of it just being all about her. Great example.
We went through a couple of very weird years, everybody. We know that, right?
Yeah.
And, and I came into the industry, I guess it's getting like up to 4 years ago now, but it was like my first year in and COVID hit. And so it was kind of weird for me because I was coming from a digital marketing, direct consumer background. I was really focused on the B2B marketing of the brokerage, not really consumer marketing, but I kind of got dragged in consumer marketing really quick because suddenly everything the brokerage had been doing for all these years, we weren't allowed to do. So we started trying to experiment, and you saw the entire industry trying to do that. Yep. You saw our competitors. That's when you saw the call centers light up. That's when you saw the TV commercials ramp up. Well, now here we are on the other side. And my observation is the call centers about put themselves out of business because they outspent on advertising and they don't know how to do what? Build long-term clientele, right? They just aren't capable of doing it. You saw the cost of advertising online shoot way up because everyone wanted to do it, and the quality of those leads go way down. And so what are we to do? Well, we still want you guys to learn all of the best practices and be discoverable and be flexible, right, to meet clients where it makes the most sense. But optimistically, you have a competitive edge if you are plugged into that word, community. Yes. If you're plugged into that community. I just met with an agency last week they're out of a suburb of San Antonio. They were up here visiting. And, I grew up in a small town myself. They were coming from a very similar community. And our VP here wanted me to talk to them about some online resources we had. Happy to do it. Sat down with them. But I quickly gathered they own that town. They are the agency in that town. And I know exactly what that's like because growing up in a small town, you have that local family insurance agency. Dude. Everybody just knows they're the resource. So the challenge for you is, can you become that local expert in your community? And retail is a great way to get yourself out there. Now, Jamie, there are times of year when this is probably more lucrative than others. And then in the corporate side, like the Walmart, it is seasonal, right? So tell us a little bit about that, first of all. And then let's also talk about the costs because you have to invest in some of these.
Yes, you do. Well, of course, Walmart follows the AEP, the annual enrollment period, from October 15th through December 7th. So we're first in stores October, somewhere between the 1st and the 10th. A lot of agents don't realize that they can actually start building their book of business, their applications before October 15th. There's just a lot of rules around that, and we can always discuss that. But we're in the Walmarts till December 7th. Many times there's so many special election periods that they are allowing us to stay past December 7th. And some years they allow us in OEP, January, February, and March, which they have this year. Some years not. HEB, they give us a little bit more time in the stores, which I think is excellent because there are so many special election periods. There's amazing 5-star programs, so there is year-round selling. I will say we do have some agencies that stay in the Walmarts even after they're officially closed. They just have a great relationship with the store management, which goes back to what you were saying. Don't go in there just expecting and demanding things. Be almost like a Walmart employee.
Yeah.
Ask how you can help. And I have seen it make such a difference with management. Sometimes you're going to have tough management.
Yeah.
And there's just no way around that. Take pictures, get back to your upline, share that, just the confusion, and maybe there's something that can be worked out. But cost is always a big deal. I still have to say we don't have the cost for this upcoming 2024 AEP, but it was $1,500 per store the last several years. They're always renegotiating, and a lot of people were upset because it jumped from $500 to $1,500. But if you think about the opportunity to get in front of that many people, or just say you wanted to lease or rent some kind of a space in a shopping mall, a strip mall, just wherever, you would spend more than $1,500.
And let's clarify, even for myself, actually. So $1,500, that gets you 3 months, essentially. That's the entire AEP.
That's the entire AEP.
Or
and it's
2.5
a one-time
months,
cost.
I guess.
Exactly.
And
we
then,
get in there a little early, stay a little late.
Yeah, and so does that opportunity, now you just said, let's clarify. So the official program, and then there's if you're a good salesperson, you can negotiate locally, right, on your level. But the program offered directly through the brokerage, the dates are, it starts October 1st.
Yes.
And it runs till when?
December 7th.
So right at the end of the AEP.
Yes.
Okay. And $1,500, how do you guys want to look at that? Now, Jamie, how long am I committing to each day? And what are those what are those requirements?
Great question.
And, do some people get the short end of the stick, right? How does that work? Talk about that.
That's a great question. Walmart requires 20 hours per week. They would love for you to be in there at least 3 days a week, but as long as you get your 20 hours in. We have some agents that work the store completely by themselves. 20 hours might sound like a lot, but if you use it also like a office, and you were talking about community marketing, if you're sending out flyers or postcards, you can talk about the hours that you're there, and it is like an office. People can come up, visit you, ask questions. You can actually write applications in the store. Sometimes that's a tough thing because you might have other people waiting to talk to you.
Yeah.
But it's still such a great opportunity because if you think about the pay that you get, your commission for writing, it will pay for itself according to if it's new business or a returning Medicare Advantage that you're having to change to something else. It can pay for itself in 2 to 4 plans.
Yep.
So everyone should be writing at least that much.
Right. It's like and how I might look at this mathematically is you have to, when we're trying to teach people to see this more as well, which is we often will help people rationalize things by mentioning their upfront commission. But the truth of it is, thinking like a business owner, you don't just want to look at the upfront commission. We are in a renewal business, meaning you really should try to calculate the lifetime of a client. And what I've been told is our average retention value is at least 5 years for local brokers that build relationships. That is huge compared to call centers who can't keep people for 9 months.
So true.
Right? And for many agents, they become the agent for life literally till that person passes away, right? That's the goal. Mm-hmm. But 5 years is a good goal to aim towards. So really calculate that commission 5 years out, right? Now one client pays for that retail. We don't want to think like that, right? But the truth is, financially, that's how it works itself out. If you're thinking long term, we're so guilty that every one of us is. We think short term. I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it. Everyone.
Everyone.
It's hard to see down the road, but smart business owners, that's what they do, right? So you make that investment, you're meeting people, and let's say you get a few enrollments right there in the AEP, but can I hand out my business card, Jamie?
Yes, you can.
Can I have flyers or take away brochures, anything like that?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so what am I doing? I'm planting seeds for the long term, right? How do I know someone isn't going to call me up 6 months later who I gave that card to when I was at Walmart because they were actually not eligible yet, right?
Happens all the time.
They were 63 or they were 64. They weren't quite in their initial enrollment period yet, but they knew they needed to get this figured out, and they made a great first impression with you, so they called you, right?
It happens.
That's how you have to think
constantly.
about this.
It's wonderful. And I
Yeah.
mean, so even when you're out of the store, it's still working for you. And build that relationship. Go back in the store, even when you're not there at a kiosk. You know, give your cards to the pharmacy. Continue to build that relationship.
So we usually announce at least the openings for Walmart in the spring, right?
Yes, and
You
it
said you
actually
haven't heard
was
anything
moved up.
yet, or-
Have not heard anything yet, which is typical Walmart. They're probably negotiating.
Probably.
And, we work through a company called HBH Direct Health that Walmart has hired to manage this program. And very, very good friends with them after all these years. So last time I asked, we still don't have a start date, but usually we start getting a list sometime in April. And we're almost in April.
Yep. Okay, so you guys should probably anticipate an announcement coming relatively soon about this, and it's a first come, first serve, right?
It definitely is.
Yeah.
And it is a bidding business across the nation. It sounds crazy that we agents have to think about that right now for something that's going to happen in October, but national advertising and everything with the carriers, it's a different world now in Medicare. We do have to start thinking about it in the summer.
Yeah, so be anticipating an email from us. We'll send that to all Medicare agents, right, that would qualify for this. If you want to get in a store, we'll have you fill out an online form. Jamie's usually buried in emails at that time, so we're trying to get better at not having her get buried and make it more streamlined for her, a little more automated as we can. So be anticipating an announcement about that. Like she said, the cost, at least for Walmart, was $1,500 in the past few years.
Yes.
I don't anticipate it will cost any less. Usually that's not how economics work.
True.
But it may not cost more. We'll see, right? But you'll get all of those details. And remember, at least for that opportunity, you're talking about a 20-hour-a-week commitment. Probably a few days a week is kind of what you usually see. And could this be a great supplement to your overall strategy? I mean, especially, actually, I was going to say small town. It doesn't matter. Small town, large city, this is a good fit for some people. Again, you have to have the self-awareness to know where you're going to best fit when it comes to marketing. Because I would tell every one of you, when we think about meeting with clients for Medicare or even ACA for that matter, the running complaint from a life agent is you guys don't actually know how to sell anything, right? You just are enrollers or educators, right? There's some truth to that. Depends on the person, right? I kind of disagree, but, that's not for today's debate. But when it comes to establishing these relationships with the businesses that you're in, that's when you got to turn on the salesperson, right? That's when you got to read books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? And you have to learn these skills of how to get people to like you, right? Very valuable. And this is the time of year, do you have a spring reading list? Go back if you've never read that book, or even if you have, read that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Another thing you have to know is you're going to face rejection, right? When you go, especially if you go out and you're trying to work out your own deals, this is kind of cool because they can just sign up for the Walmart. You'll plug them in, right?
Right.
But if they want to go get their own deals, and a lot of times those can be pretty sweet if you can get them, you got to become a salesperson, right?
For sure.
Different skill set than what you learn on the AHIP, which teaches you to not be a salesperson, right? Two different skills. You can develop both. Maybe you're an agency. Maybe you're an agency owner. That's where I think we've seen some of the magic from what I've observed is that, especially if you're part of one of our downline agencies,
Right.
you may have the person that's really good at the business development, but that may not be the person that shows up to work the store.
So
right.
true.
But they're really good at getting in there and brokering a deal. They then plug an agent in, right? That's really good and extroverted and that wants to be in that environment. Everybody's good at everything. But I just feel like it's so important that we make you guys aware of this program because it's a really great opportunity for a lot of people. All right, Jamie, well, this has been a great conversation. So let's wrap this up with one last question, which is, hey, I'm still kind of waiting on the announcement email, but what can I be doing right now?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked me. I always want to tell agents if it's not a store that they've worked in before, and it could even change, demographics change. Walk the stores that you think you want because many stores now have all young people in them. It's a new neighborhood. It's a lot of young family, which there's still business there, but you really want to be in a neighborhood that maybe a senior bus from several apartments drops them off at a certain day, a certain time. Those are the days you want to be working that store. So walk that store several different times during the day. A lot of us seniors are working still. So some stores that used to never be good for seniors on a Saturday are good now. So, check it out different times of the day, different days, and really see if that's the store you want. Because the saddest thing I've ever seen is when someone has requested a store, paid for it, and then when it's time to work it, they're like, there's no senior traffic. And I'm like, do your homework. Go walk through some of the stores around you that you're considering.
Great advice. Great way to wrap up this conversation. Like Jamie said, get out there and explore a little bit. Look around. Get on Google Maps. See the neighborhoods around that store. And then you can be one of the smart agents that, like I said, there's opportunity in all of them, but how can you, give yourself an even better chance, a little better edge, right? And that's the way to do it. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you so much, Gillen. I enjoyed it.